Hello and welcome everyone. In this video we're going to be looking at a couple games that I have set up with our new 12700K running with the oh so powerful GTX 1650 Super. So I recently upgraded my motherboard and my processor and also my RAM as well from the Ryzen 3600 non-X. I was running that for about a year or two, and then even before that I was running the original first gen Ryzen 1800X since its release date, which I think was back in like 2015 or 2014. I think it was 2015. So been mostly, well, all AMD as far as CPU is concerned, and I did dabble in a few of the graphics cards. I had the RX 5800, I think it's what's called, right? I had that. I had the Vega 56, used that and everything. So I've been dabbling in their ecosystem for a while, kind of seeing what the kind of people are talking about with the different companies and, you know, performance-wise, what do you actually get out of them? And then recently, I think about 2 weeks ago, we swapped over to Intel. I think I'm using the Asus TUF Gaming Z390. I think it's a Wi-Fi motherboard as well. I'm not using Wi-Fi, but so instead, you know, it's a different version. I am using DDR4. I don't have a DDR5 kit or like motherboard or whatever. And then the 12700K, and it is, I guess you can say that it's overclocked. All I'm doing is I'm overclocking the E cores to 4000 megahertz, and then I'm locking the P cores at 5000 megahertz, which that's what the boost clock is anyway. So I'm just keeping it at the boost all the time. And I went into the BIOS and fiddled around and did a bunch of like power saving stuff, you know, made sure the V core wasn't, you know, going crazy, because for some reason with Intel motherboards especially, what I've been looking up with these new chips is they seem to have pretty aggressive clock speed and power requirements that the motherboard just set for you out the gate. So you have to go in there and like tweak it to, because these chips don't really use the kind of V-core power settings they were putting on the chip. I don't know, it was weird. But all those, I want to say all those rumors of the CPU, you know, heating people's rooms and it sucking out a bunch of power, it doesn't really do that. Typical usage I've seen while gaming is around like maybe 70-60 watts, like it's around there, and the temps are usually well in check, like anywhere between like 55 and 60 something. It's nowhere near out of control. Now if I go through a Blender workload, when at stock settings, so out of the box, if I do, I mean not Blender, Cinebench. If I do Cinebench R23 out of the box, it was pulling 240 watts. It was pulling that. With since I've done my tweaking and everything, and I've like locked the cores and stuff like that, and did some other stuff in the BIOS, it only goes up to 200 watts, and that's it. It doesn't go above that, so I'd say that's fine. You'll never see that in gaming or anything else you do anyway. But so far, the upgrade between the Ryzen 3600 and the 12700K probably goes without saying. It is not even in the same league. It is just immense what the CPU can do. I've been gaming on it. It's pretty fast for gaming. For streaming, it's like I'm able to do 1080p 60 FPS on slow with all the games I've tested, and no problems, no crashes, no nothing. It just grunts it all the way through. I even tried out 1080p 120 FPS because I wanted to see the slow motion effect that people were doing, and it even did that. It didn't do it. It did on the very fast preset though. It didn't do it on a slow. Still not bad. Definitely no slouch. I can definitely recommend. Well, I mean, I guess if you're purely gaming, you can probably just get away with the i5, because the i5 does pretty much what this thing does for $100 cheaper. I think it's like $300, and you get 10 cores. So really, I just wanted to get the i7 just to kind of flex. Realistically, you probably could just grab the i5 and be completely good and save yourself $100, which you can put into a beefy cooler or some better. Really, RAM is where you're gonna be kind of bottlenecking yourself with these CPUs. If you are gonna stay on DDR4, definitely picking up a 4000 megahertz kit is fully recommended for these Intel things. They want them as fast as you can get them. I could have went to I could have went the route of DDR5, but I personally think DDR5 needs some time to kind of shift. It only just came out a couple months ago. I think in like maybe like a year or so, let's let everyone get their kits out and get them like optimized and everything. And when the speeds start getting up to 9,000 megahertz and 12,000 megahertz, like they really start cranking them out and getting like more refined with the process, it'll be like insane. But right now, I decided just to wait because I'm not gonna be swapping my motherboard. I don't know, for like the next like 3-4 years probably, unless I really need to. This is probably gonna just stay as is. You know, just pick up I picked up, I would say cheap, but it's definitely like quality. Like I picked up a $100 32 gigabyte 3200 megahertz Corsair Vengeance RAM. I just picked that up from Best Buy and threw it in here. I mean, it doesn't break the bank, gets the job done. You know, what are you gonna do? Now, as for early adopter bugs, I know, like, new platform, new problem. I didn't really have any problem. I had to go into the BIOS and spend like a good week and a half just tweaking things and testing things on Cinebench or the Intel XTU, like their own like benchmarking and stability testing software. I had to go and do all that for like a week and a half, looking at different YouTube videos, looking at guides, forum posts, seeing what people are getting on their 12700Ks, and kind of seeing like where I need to put mines and how far I can push it, how this and that. I did. Now, as far as like overclocking, I did do 5,300 megahertz on all P cores, and I kept the E cores at stock. I couldn't do. I know some people were getting like 5,400. I didn't like hold it like that. I just like did it for like a quick test to kind of see like what my score would be or whatever. And I had to put the sock voltage to 1.42, which is really ridiculous. And it was pulling 180 watts in Cinebench, and it instantly thermal throttled after like 3 minutes and went straight to like 90 degrees. So I don't really, my cooling solution isn't I would say like crazy or anything. I'm only using a 240 millimeter. It's like a MSI 240 millimeter. I forgot what the name is, but I threw it in there. Looking back, I probably should have went for like a 360 IO, like something like super huge and beefy. If I knew these CPUs are gonna be kind of wild a little bit, but now while gaming, it doesn't really make a difference because the temperatures they barely go over 55°. While gaming rather, and streaming. So yeah. So if you're gonna pick the chip up, I would definitely recommend you get the beefiest cooler that your case can handle, and that you like want to put in there, because the beefier the better. Because these chips do run a little bit wild on certain situations anyway. As for productivity and like video making and editing, it is just a behemoth, especially compared to the Ryzen CPU that I had. But it's not even a fair comparison, since that CPU had 6 cores and 12 threads, and this one has 20 threads and 12 cores, and it's got like a weird, P-core E-core situation, like whatever. So I'm not gonna like dunk on my Ryzen chip. It did enough. It did enough. It got me through. But this is crazy. Now, I could have gotten the 12900K, but I really didn't see, like, for what I was doing, since I have a streaming PC. This is supposed to be just a gaming PC. I didn't really see a huge reason to go that far. But I see why a lot of people do, because you can save time on editing. It's a monster in gaming. It has a lot of like, it clocks pretty high. It's got a lot of grunt. Like a 12900K, that's a thing that you'll probably just be stuck with for like the next like 6 to 8 years if you use it correctly and don't like run it super crazy or anything. That 16 cores is. There's no games that they're going to be using 16 cores anytime soon. That's why, like, if you're going to future-proof, the i5 is perfect. Like 10 cores, I mean that's and it ends like just as fast as everything else. Only by a few percentage, it's off. I mean, come on now. And for $300, I mean, it's pretty great right now. So, that's all I kind of want to say. Just to give like a little update of what I've been doing the last week or so. Hopefully everyone had a happy holidays and everything, and Christmas and everything else. The gameplay you've seen in the background is just me playing on the 1650 Super with the 12700K. You guys need a little like refresher. It does have 4 GB of VRAM. And since playing on this thing, it does do 1080p in most of the game that I've played at like the max preset or whatever, and you do get around 60 FPS. It really depends on how optimized the game is and how heavy the workload is, whether or not it wants to actually cooperate. But I would say this card is definitely pretty good value for a budget build. Well, if you can get one at like, not crazy prices. But that's all I really got to say. Hopefully you guys have a good one. I'll see you on the next one. Subscribe.